if I come back, it's not just Luxor. Luxor is a beautiful city of Egypt, but all Egypt is very beautiful as well. Let me focus here on the tourism sector, and let me welcome our guest, Dr. Amra Atef, tourism expert and PhD in Sustainable Heritage Tourism, Helwan University. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me start with the CBE or the Central Bank of Egypt report about the revenues of tourism as main contributor to the Egyptian economy and the efforts exerted by the state to encourage this sector.
Well, if we talk about tourism, tourism is #1 industry in Egypt. And Egypt is a big attraction for tourists worldwide and has always been. The revenue out of tourism can cover all the shortage of the foreign currency that we are hearing about nowadays. So actually tourism comes as one of the main sources of the GDP after agriculture exports. And the foreign currencies, I mean the Egyptians who live abroad, the savings of the Egyptians who live abroad. The government has been taking very good steps to improve tourism. And we have to mention that all the efforts...
What do you mean by to improve tourism? In terms of what? I mean,
in terms of services, because tourism is not only sites, and it's not only sightseeing. Services is very important, and a very important sector in the business is services. So from being in the business, you can see that the people at the hotels are very well trained. You can see that the people who work in the cruise ships, you can see that the people, also the country is going towards green tourism. And especially if we have to mention the summit. Yes, the summit of COP27 that took place in Sharm el-Sheikh, because this put Egypt among the countries that cares about green tourism. And you know what? There are lots of travelers who would come and do like kind of a fam trip in the hotels where they're, the clients would be staying in, and they insist on not having plastic containers for water. Or not, green tourism is now very important. So COP27 is actually one of the very good advertisements for tourism, and one of the reasons that maybe encouraged the number of tourists that came to Egypt, this season, if we can say.
Indeed, COP27 was a great promoter to Egypt's tourism at then, and many people came to see the beauty of Egypt, the seaside, but also some of them chose to go to other locations in Egypt during that time, indeed. And
COP27, as a matter of fact, in just in 2 minutes, Egypt was one of the very first countries that reacted to climate changing. And people talk about the pyramids as they ask always, why did they stop building pyramids? What happened? They stopped building pyramids because of the drought. There was a drought in Egypt after the 2600 BC in the 4th dynasty, and the drought stayed for decades. And that's why the Egyptians had to move to Fayoum, to the Fayoum oasis, and to start to have the gardens and the plants there. And that's why they stopped building pyramids. So Egypt was one of the very first countries that reacted to climate changing. Not only this, but if you're talking about Nilometers in El Maniel and El Roda, that's also one of the things that Egypt reacted to global changing and global warming and climate changing. So COP27 is a reflection of what Egypt has been doing.
Our predecessors.
You can say that again. Yep, our predecessors.
So Egypt during dynasties
Yes.
has always reacted towards threats, global threats.
Absolutely.
And particularly what we're speaking about is climate change.
Absolutely.
Good to know that our predecessors and our ancient Egyptian and old grandfathers have taken such a step, and now we are just reiterating what they did.
That's right. That's right.
So, if we speak about the tourism ministry strategy in order to be able to attract more tourists to Egypt, and campaigns that were made in this regard.
Well, if we're talking about the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, we have to mention that the new discoveries that has been going on in Saqqara, for instance, and in Luxor, as a matter of fact, is attracting lots of travelers. People now, travelers worldwide, are attracted to what we would call Instagrammic tours. They want to come and see something new. And Egypt has been changing. As we always say to the travelers, Egypt is not your mother's Egypt or your grandmother's Egypt. It's different. It's a new Egypt now that they are coming to see. They go see the new excavations, they go see the new tombs, they go down the shafts, the burial shafts, like the movies of Indiana Jones. And so this attracts the travelers, and this, they're very willing to come to Egypt. Plus the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, there is a big campaign worldwide regarding the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and people are waiting for to visit.
People are just holding their breath.
Yes, that's
awaiting
right.
such a huge inauguration, definitely to
the GEM.
The GEM, definitely. But here, the minister spoke about maximizing the number of tourists
to 30 million.
in Egypt. That we can attract from 14 to 15 million tourists during this upcoming stage, until we reach 25 to 30 million. One, he spoke about what we have of hotels, what we have of restaurants, what we have of tour guides, companies, archaeological sites, and museums. And here the minister spoke about the importance of doubling
the number of tourists.
The number of that, so we can really be able to grasp the number of tourists that we really in need of. How do you view that? How do you view the strategy towards applying this?
Egypt has been taking very good steps, and the government and the Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism and Antiquities has been taking very good steps. We're talking about 8,000 tourist, between hotels and building and so on and so forth, restaurants and so on and so forth, and we're talking about 200,000 rooms or 210,000 rooms. The government now is working on increasing those rooms to 500,000. And this season there were lots of, it was booming, I have to say. If we talk about Luxor, you go to Luxor and you see, the temples were full. In general, we're talking about Karnak or Luxor Temple or Esna or Edfu or Komombo, all the sites were full of travelers from all over the world, despite of the conflict of Russia in Ukraine. Yet people, still came to Egypt, and I always noticed that in Sharm el-Sheikh, for instance, in Sharm el-Sheikh Resort, there were Ukraine travelers, and there were also Russian travelers.
Chinese also came.
And Chinese came
recently, yes.
Yep. Chinese came to Egypt, but in general, there were lots of booming numbers of travelers recently. Speaking of the other steps that the government is taking, security. We can see all the sites are very well secured. And also we have to mention that the tourism police are doing a great job. As a matter of fact, you go to the sites and the tourist police is protecting the sites and taking care of the travelers, so people feel safe when they are here. They always ask about the protection of the sites, and they always say that we feel safe when we are here in Egypt. People can walk in any of the cities in Egypt at night without feeling that they are worried or concerned. The comment we get from the travelers is that Cairo never sleeps. It's a city that doesn't sleep.
Sleepless city.
Sleepless city, so people are out and about all the time in the streets and dining and talking and coffee shops and everything. So I think Egypt is special, and people always say that Egypt has been on their bucket list, and that they always wanted to come to Egypt. It was a dream of life, and that they are happy that they were able to do this trip. So I think that the main issue, or the main goal or factor to increase tourism is also raising awareness of the local community, and taking care of training more and more, bless you, more and more of the people who work in the tourism section, and the Ministry of Tourism, and the Minister of Tourism just said that Egypt has a goal of reaching 14 to 15 million.
Propagating Egypt is something very important.
That's right.
And tourism destination agencies worldwide were recommending Egypt, particularly the past period. We've seen lots of agencies online and even on channels recommending Egypt as a touristic site, the latest of which was the Mail online,
yes,
that recommended Egypt for UK citizens,
yes,
and spoke about the beauty of Egypt. How do we, the Egyptian ministry, the Egyptian state is propagating for Egypt?
Well, the Egyptian Ministry of the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism has been doing lots of campaigns in all over the world. Dr. Zahi Hawass was just in the U.S. of A, and he was giving lectures there and doing tours. In America, for instance, to advertise Egypt, and he just won a prize. As a matter of fact, he won a prize for the discovery of the Golden City, the lost city, or the Golden City in Luxor. So he was nominated for this big award. So all this adds on to advertising. You know what? Also the digs and the excavations that's going on in Luxor. So people now know Saqqara inside out. I cannot imagine. In the past, people, when they used to come to Egypt, they maybe knew about the pyramids, they maybe knew about Luxor, but now people come and say, we want to go to Saqqara, we want to see these new discoveries. If I show you the emails I get, and I'm just an individual among a whole process in the tourism industry, the emails is always talking about the new excavations, about the golden lost city that Dr. Zahi just discovered. They're talking about, and I think also the new Minister of Antiquities is a lucky guy. He came to office, and then tourism started booming, and people are commenting about that all the time. So there are lots of travelers, and people are willing to travel. And Egypt has always been a big destination for the travelers. And I think that it's easy to reach this number. We just need to work on having new rooms, and hotel rooms and accommodation. We need to double the number of hotels. The campaigns that Egypt is doing, the archaeological digs that are done in Egypt is a big campaign.
And exposing them to the whole world, taking them into the scene.
That's right.
Air while doing this is a propagation in itself.
Yeah.
But yes.
What I would say, the real McCoy. They come and they see for real, what's going on, and it's a big propaganda. It's a big advertisement. Dr. Mustafa Waziri also just discovered another city. The head of the Antiquities Department, he just discovered a city in Luxor under the house of the location of the house of Andraus Pasha. So in front of the Luxor temple, they found a whole city where people were living. Can you imagine? A city, a real city with homes, with administration buildings, a bakery, tombs, everything in the city. People always asked about the daily life. the Egyptian civilization, and I'm talking about the ancient Egyptian civilization, maybe had a reputation to be a civilization for the hereafter, for tombs and pyramids and temples, which is nice and good. But people were always eager to know about the daily life, how the Egyptians lived, where did they live, what did they eat, and so on and so forth. And this is very trendy now with the new discoveries.
This is the kind of cultural tourism that many people come to, but Egypt has lots and lots of other kind of tourism that can really. For an instance, you just spoke about the COP27. The COP27 makes it a country that is able really to host
green tourism,
huge conferences.
Yes.
Let me here ask you about the type, as a tour guide, let me here ask you as the type of tourists that we attract and how to propagate for other types of tourism in Egypt.
The types of tourism, tourists that we attract is mainly, as you mentioned, culture tourism and also beach tourism. So people come to Egypt because Egypt is known for the resorts, entertainment tourism, and so on and so forth. But we can attract religion tourism, or I would say spiritual tourism, especially after the route of the Holy Family, being opened. We're talking about 25 stops. 25 stops, places where Mary, Jesus, and Joseph did stay 1,500 kilometers back and forth. You know, Egypt is the first country that Jesus, drank its water and ate its food after his homeland. So this is another thing, another type of tourism, especially that they took the blessing of the Vatican on this type of tourism, the spiritual tourism. So I think that this
also
is
the therapeutical one?
Yes, the therapeutical, of course. People like to meditate, people like to, and it's very trendy, and they go to Safaga now for meditation and for yoga and all those. Also Luxor became a very big attraction. We can also attract, you're talking about conference tourism. We can attract sports tourism. You notice Morocco what did Morocco do in the World Cup, and soccer is a big sports, for instance, and we can arrange. Egypt can accommodate. It doesn't have to be Cairo. It can be Hurghada. It can be Sharm el-Sheikh. It can be.
Or it can be all the cities of Egypt.
All the cities of Egypt. So yes, and we can attract those soccer competitions, soccer championships, if I can say, and imagine how many will be willing to come and do sightseeing and enjoy the soccer games that will be here. So that's one of the things that we need to work on maybe, and it's very trendy. And also the soccer players, Mo Salah is of course a big shot when it comes to soccer. Imagine how many followers Mo Salah has. Mo Salah can come and have a vacation here, for instance.
But he comes all the time.
He comes all the time, but he comes with a little bit, with a little bit of low profile. I would say I want him to come and do a big ad in Sharm el-Sheikh and a big ad in Hurghada, and the country can help him with that.
Lots of celebrities have already been seeing Egypt, and maybe we have to increase and show off more of the celebrities who are visiting Egypt here. Unfortunately, yes, please.
We're talking. Messi, for instance, has 10 million followers on the social media. 10 million. And so on and so forth. So imagine the celebrity tourism, but there are now.
Yes.
It's there and it's happening and it's going on.
Yes. Unfortunately, they are calling on me here to end because my time is out. But Dr. Amr Atef, tourism expert and PhD in sustainable heritage tourism, Helwan University. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear viewers, I guess that takes us to the end of this episode of our program Daily Debate, and next debate would be Sunday. Many thanks for watching and good night.